Hey, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a High 2 Friday training camp edition. Eagles have a walkthrough, which means we have no practice to talk about from today, but still plenty to digest from the first 2 days of Eagles training camp. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, in familiar confines. Zach, how you doing?
Doing great. Happy to see you.
To see you.
Thrilled. Yeah, it's a chance. So it's only been 2 days here, but it's been a chance to kind of reset and take a step back and check in on some of the things we've seen in these 2 sessions, and excited to be out there for a Saturday morning practice tomorrow.
Yes, we should say that the Eagles do return to the practice field tomorrow morning. We do not have a show tomorrow morning, but we will talk about what happens there on Monday when we'll have 2 practices to talk about, Zach. And also on allphly.com, you will have complete coverage of tomorrow's practice. So we look forward to that. Make sure that everybody is a diehard so that they can read all of that good stuff. For today's show, Zach, we have a nice little marriage of the Tick Zach Bo formula with actual football stuff to talk about. So rather than NFL around the league miscellaneous and the 3 other categories of convince me, predict, and would you rather, we have offense, defense, and miscellaneous for the rubric today. Thank you for putting it together.
Absolutely. I like this device. I like how you don't know what the questions are going to be, so it provides some spontaneous conversation.
But I will say, I was I hadn't had the lovely day yesterday getting to meet my new niece. What an awesome experience that was. It was funny. I came back and the kids were on the playground and we were with some friends and like, wow, you really seem like you're in a really good mood. I'm like, yeah, I am. It was fantastic. What a day. But on the ride back, I'm listening to a little sports radio, figure out what happened at practice. And so, it's like I want to jump in because I have my own thoughts on the way that some of these things are portrayed, so we can talk about some of those things that happened yesterday. And a good job from you and Les covering those angles yesterday. Why don't we start, Zach? Let's keep it football. Let's focus on the important stuff. Let's talk defense. And how about convince me?
Defense convinced me. So I do want to tell the audience today that instead of having it on my screen in a different tab and jumping tabs or windows, what I did is I actually did the old-fashioned way and I wrote this down. So I have a literal grid here.
Nice.
Okay, so defense convince me. Okay, convince me about Bryce Huff. We're combining the Vic Fangio, Bryce Huff comments. So Les and I spoke about it on yesterday's show. But for those who did not catch yesterday's show yet, Vic Fangio said Bryce Huff has the ability to be a 3-down player, like more than a situational player, a base down player. But he's not there yet. He can't do it today, basically. Convince me, should the audience be worried about this, that their $17 million edge rusher is not at that point yet in the defensive coordinator's eyes? Is there more nuance here? What's the Bo Wulf take on Vic Fangio's comments? Because I have read online some concern about this.
Yeah, I think there should be no concern here at all. The first thing is it is a nice, refreshing bit of press conference content that we have a Vic Fangio, crusty old man, and nothing to worry about. He can say whatever he wants. I think that's great, and it's nice to hear some honesty or whatever his version of honesty is. But no, I don't think that this is a concern at all for several reasons. One of the conversations that I was hearing and online and also just listening to the radio yesterday was like, oh, like all of us, the $17 million guy can't play on first down. What a bust. Like, first of all, Bryce Huff is not getting paid for first and second down. Okay. If we even take it as truth that he might not be ready to play on rundowns under Vic Fangio, it doesn't matter. He is paid to sack the quarterback. If he can rack up 14 sacks while playing 40% of the snaps, that's worth $17 million to the Eagles, right? Like, that's what he's getting paid for. It's not the belief that what he's shown on third down with the Jets means that he can play on first and second down. It's the belief that what he's shown on third down with the Jets means that with an increased role on third down, he can have, that same level of efficiency at getting after the quarterback. So Bryce Huff will be judged by how good he is at getting after the quarterback, not by what he does on first and second down. As for the actual complaint that he's not, he's not there yet. I mean, they haven't even put pads on yet. It's been 2 days. Like, run defense to me on the edge is so much more about want to than
Sure.
anything else. And so the idea that Bryce Huff like hasn't shown that want to, I don't necessarily believe that. And it's also I think that's something that can be taught. Like a defensive tackle can get washed out of the play. A defensive end can get washed out of the play too. But I don't believe that Bryce Huff is going to be put in a position where he's going to really materially affect in a negative way the Eagles' run defense. And if he is really bad at it, the Eagles have other options there.
Sure.
Like they could play Brandon Graham on first and second down more. Nolan Smith could be a factor there. Maybe Jalex Hunt could be a factor there. Maybe you play Milton Williams more on the outside, right? Like I don't view this as a significant concern, but I did think that the conversation you and Les had yesterday about the delta between Bryce Huff and Hassan Reddick is significant, and Hassan Reddick did bring something to the table in that area. But as for should my alarm bells be ringing because Vic Fangio didn't gas up Bryce Huff as an 80% player? No, I am not worried about that. How about you?
I think you framed it well. I would not be worried about his lack of experience, or I don't want to say ability, but the unknown for him as a run defender or dropping in the coverage. We've spoken about this. Hassan Reddick's first year too, right? He's here to rush the quarterback. My question, my skepticism, the alarm bell in my head has less to do with the role or like the actions, I should say, and more to do with just the overall playing time. In this sense, he's been a 450 snap player at most in his career. If you look at Hassan Reddick's snaps, Hassan Reddick was 800 snaps, right? So you're looking at like a 300 to 400 snap increase. How effective is he? There's one way to look at this, which is to say,
great point.
Playing twice as much, he can be even better. There's another way of saying maybe he was playing twice as much because like he wasn't good enough to play ahead of whether it's Jermaine Johnson or you go on down list. Maybe he's best as that third or fourth, that situational rusher. So that's more my concern. It's not whether he can do it, it's whether he is a top guy for you.
And even beyond that, even if it's not about merit for the snaps, but it's about effectiveness. Like, did the Jets believe that he was a player who's what made him successful as a pass rusher would diminish over time? Like, is it like a Jordan Davis, he wears down as the season goes on thing? Is
Sweat, yeah.
Is it like his specific pass rush moves diminish in their effectiveness the more tackles see them? I don't know the answer to that, but I think you're right. The bigger concern is not in a larger sample, can he actually be on the field on first and second down? The question is, in a larger sample, can he be as effective of a pass rusher as he was in the smaller sample?
Yeah, well said. And that's really what I want to monitor, because I do think in our conversations about Josh Sweat, you've framed it well that maybe he was playing too many snaps last season, and maybe Josh Sweat's most effective in kind of that 50 to 60% range, as opposed to really pushing up to being one of your top guys. And Bryce Huff could be the same way. And not that there's something wrong with that, but there's a difference. If you're paying a guy $17 million a year, right, you're expecting him to be more than your third pass rusher. You're expecting him to be more than a situational guy who's kind of dependent on someone else getting the attention from the opposing offense, or only playing in a reduced role.
Yes and no. I think if you're paying him $17 million because you have Jalen Carter under contract under his rookie deal, and he's the one who's taking the attention away from players, then if he can get you 13, 14 sacks as the third best pass rusher on the team, then I think that's a fine investment. But
in speaking about Josh Sweat, because it's like similar to this topic, I asked Vic Fangio what indicators he's seeking to see if Josh Sweat can return to the 2022 form. And he said movement number one, probably movement number one 2, and 3, and how he's picking up what he's doing and how long he can go, which is kind of what we're talking about here. He said, his conditioning, but it'll be easy to tell because you know what the guy was doing and can he still do it. So yeah, I think
like
that's
there's a difference. Bryce Huff is like a young 26 because he hasn't played a ton of snaps.
Sure.
Josh Sweat is like a very old 27, right?
Sure.
Like just the wear and tear on his body, the injuries he's been through, all that stuff. And by the end of last season, he was moving like an old guy.
But if both guys profile better as number 2s,
yeah,
right, then that is a concern because Hassan Reddick was like a bona fide 1 from my perspective. Hassan Reddick he was the player who the opposing offenses were gearing toward. Like if you didn't know where number 7 was, it was a problem. Will teams have that same approach for number 0? Is 0 technically, like, do you say number 0 or do you say 0, right?
Good question. I think number 0 is fine.
Yeah, number 0. So our team's going to have that same approach because I do think and I've said this on this show, I've said this in some other interviews I've done. If you're looking for the reason for concern about the Eagles in 2024, I would say if their pass rush is not good enough, then it affects everything else.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's also, I'm wary of having this conversation every single episode, especially when it's the summer and we're not going to see this play out until the middle of the season. But the snap count stuff, like it's going to be on my radar all year long, and it's a really serious thing because I think that played a real role in the defense's collapse at the end of last season, and they're leaning even more into playing more snaps for their best players. So I don't know how it's going to play out. It's not the way that I would go about things if I was in charge. That doesn't mean anything. Vic Fangio has been, has forgotten more about football than I'll ever know. But
you have a good radar.
But it is, and it's so curious because we know it's something that the Eagles fundamentally believe in, from Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman on down. And so for them to make this concession, I'm very, very curious about how it all plays out.
And to buttress that point, Jordan Davis did say yesterday, if Vic Fangio had his way, Fangio would have these guys play 10 snaps in a row.
Now, was he talking about in game or during practice? Like,
good question.
I was confused about that.
Good question there. That's a technicality that I need to kind of clarify. But he said Sirianni has something to say about it, so we only go 6 in a row.
Right.
But his point was like conditioning is really important. And you brought up the observation after Monday's. Oh, I say Monday because it was the start of the practice week. After after Wednesday's show, the days blended. The first practice was Wednesday. After Wednesday's show, because today does seem like a Saturday because they're not practicing. That you saw like the first team offense kind of run on the field at one point when they did this the other day. They did this yesterday as well. And really what they're doing, as Jordan Mailata explained, is they're working on conditioning. It's all about conditioning. Like, so they'll have their first team offense run on to the field against like the third team defense for a play, right? And then they'll have like Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter run on with the third team defense at one point for a play. This is all about conditioning.
Well said. All right, let's stay on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go defense. Would you rather?
Defense. Would you rather? Okay. So as we mentioned, the first 2 days here, we have seen Keely Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers as the top corners on the outside. Quinyon Mitchell has been mixing in the slot. Now, in theory, this could be a way for Quinyon Mitchell to play early, especially if Cooper DeJean takes some time. But would you rather Quinyon Mitchell start his career in the slot so you can get him on the field earlier, let's say, or focus on the outside where you're expecting him to be? Like, do you want to put too much on his plate, or I shouldn't say too much, a lot on his plate so he can play earlier, or do you want him to focus on where he's going to be long-term?
I don't want to dodge the question, but I feel like my answer is whatever he earns.
Okay.
If he is your best option, if he looks like a better option in the slot on day one or week one than Avonte Maddox or than Cooper DeJean, if he's back healthy, then yeah, he should be on the field helping the defense that way. but I don't think that I don't think that they need to prioritize his long-term development week 1, but I
Okay.
also think they should be eyes wide open about, cornerback and I was talking with Sam Lynch who made this point, but cornerback is a developmental position,
Sure.
right? Like it's not a position where necessarily guys hit the ground running year 1, and there can be some, false positives or false negatives. Like a lot of the best corners in the league, you look at who the Pro Bowlers are, not all of them were very good right away. And it's different than some other positions that way. We talk about defensive tackle this way a lot, how like there's more of a like a natural progression year to year. Cornerback is not necessarily like that. It can be sort of up and down and bouncy, but you know, look at Rasul Douglas, for
Sure.
instance, right? Like this is a guy who had to go to 4 different places before he eventually found out the best situation for him and turned into a Pro Bowl caliber player. I think Quinion Mitchell, I think the Eagles would love it if he's ready to go week 1 and looks better than Keely Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers or Avonte Maddox in the slot. But I don't think that we need to judge Quinion Mitchell's like the effectiveness of the pick necessarily by how much he's on the field early in the season. And I actually don't think that it's the same as like Sidney Brown last year, where I was pounding the table for Sidney Brown should be on the field week 1 because it's going to better serve the team in December for him to get those reps. I think the Eagles are in a position where they don't have to do that with Quinion Mitchell because they have real talented depth on the outside. If we were talking about Quinion Mitchell was fighting off, James Bradbury from the end of last year and Eli Ricks, then yeah, I think the reps should go to Quinion Mitchell in service of making the team best in December. But I think because they have other guys who are also young, I don't think that they necessarily have to force it.
A few things to build off what you just said. The outstanding Inquirer reporter EJ Smith asked Vic Fangio how he's seen Quinion Mitchell adjust to the slot.
I mean, let's take it easy on the descriptor there, but
you mean Vic Fangio is the defensive coordinator?
That's true. Yes.
Yeah. So in calling Vic Fangio the defensive coordinator, that is an accurate description.
That's accurate. Yes.
Oh, you're referring to the outstanding reporter, EJ Smith. He is outstanding. So Quinion Mitchell. Quinion Mitchell, talented. This is from Vic Fangio. He's a talented guy. He's smart, has a good football feel. All of that is really more than I thought he had just from watching the college tape. And then they think he can move around. So the follow-up was, what could you tell them that made you think he could play inside? Vic Fangio said, we just tried it. We just put him in there, and he tried it, and he looked fine. So this is a spot where they're evaluating, and it's worth pointing out because when the Eagles drafted him, I think it was Howie said they're not going to put too much on his plate early. They're not going to have him focus on multiple spots. Vic Fangio was also asked his philosophy about playing young players, and he said that if you look at his history, he's always played young players, or he's never had a problem playing rookies so long as they're good enough. He's not just going to put a rookie in there because they're a rookie, but he's going to put the guys in there who have the best chance of helping the team. He said he's been on an expansion team in 2 places. Carolina and Houston are the 2 places. He said they just kind of threw the rookies out there to see what they got. His quote was, "We've got more serious business here. If they're worthy of playing, they will play."
Well said. All right, you know what? Let's just close it out on the defense. Let's go defense predict. Let's sweep it up.
Defense predict. Jeremiah Trotter, who he left practice yesterday.
Yes, what's the update here?
Left practice yesterday. Now, I said he left on a cart, which is technically true. It was also the end of practice. He went down on the last play of practice. Training staff was massaging his leg. He went onto the cart, and they carted him inside. The Philadelphia Inquirer reported, Jeff McClain from the Inquirer, he said it was just cramps. So presuming that's the case, we will likely see Jeremiah Trotter Jr. back out there tomorrow. Nothing to be concerned about, but
good.
He was on the field holding holding his leg there. So the question is, and before this happened, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. even mixed in with the first team for a few snaps. So predict Jeremiah Trotter Jr.'s role and how much he'll factor in to the Eagles this year as a rookie.
Here's my bold take. Okay.
I'm ready for this. This might be a drop or a VOD.
Presuming health, Jeremiah Trotter takes more defensive snaps as a linebacker, as an inside linebacker for the Eagles than Zach Bond does this season. Or he is the linebacker by the end of the season. I think this is a little bit more of a Zach Bond take than a Jeremiah Trotter take. Although I did on day one, I was watching Trotter in the middle, and there were 2 plays where it did seem like he diagnosed things very quickly on run plays. He's small. There's no doubt about that. He stands out in how small he is. But
that's relative.
Yeah, on the field relative to the other monsters of the world around him. I'm very skeptical of the Zach Bond thing. I know that he is, probably a little bit ahead in the pecking order for who's going to be the starter alongside Devin White. Zach Bond was a 3rd-round pick with the same organization the entire time. The defensive coordinator who drafted him then became the head coach. It was the same defensive scheme. So this is an organization that was incentivized to get the most out of him. They never made him a full-time inside linebacker. He never earned it. Okay. The idea that he's going to come here in a new defense and be starting caliber. He made a nice play on Wednesday that I saw. It was the best play that I saw a linebacker make in coverage. Maybe he has that skill set in him, and it's just something that hasn't shown up, whether for opportunity or whatever. Maybe this defense just happens to be better for him. But I think it is much more likely that a 5th-round pick is not a huge pick, but a 5th-round pick turns out to be better than a guy who has 4 years of experience not having done this. And I think that it's possible that they add another linebacker at some point this season, but I'm pretty skeptical on Zach Bond playing that role. It's almost like he's sort of set up as like the guy who is to be cleared. But I actually, as small as he is, I think Trotter. I would think that Vic Fangio would appreciate a guy who's in the right place, and if he can prove that he's going to be in the right place, then maybe that's enough.
And why Trotter over Nakobe Dean?
I don't know that it will be over Nakobe Dean.
Okay.
I just think it will be over Zach Bond.
Okay.
And so, and this is a bit bold. It's going out on a limb, but I mean, Nakobe, there's the injury histories. It's obvious that Vic Fangio doesn't love Nakobe Dean for whatever reason. I think it's more, if you're asking me right now who's going to play the most snaps at linebacker, I would guess Devin White and Nakobe Dean at the top. But I think I would rather bet on Trotter than Zach Bond.
Now, I should say when Vic Fangio was asked about the linebackers yesterday, once again, Zach Bond was the first name that he mentioned. So it's the association.
I believe Vic Fangio likes Zach Bond. I think that he's going to see it play out and be like, okay, maybe I was wrong. That's kind of how I see it playing out. Zach Bond's the starter for the first 3 weeks of the season. You're getting a Nicholas Morrow level of competency. Okay, let's see what the kid's got.
Quick Devin White question. So you wake up one morning in Brazil this summer, or Julia wakes up one morning in London this summer, and you get a text. The three, it's a group text.
You mean
Bo, Julia, me, and I send it, and I renamed it. So instead of seeing BW, or I'm sorry, instead of seeing JH and ZB in the top, it's renamed to accountability. Okay. And what comes in the text is just a picture of an empty glass. What is your reaction that day?
I mean, I probably throw my phone off the balcony.
So Devin White this summer texted Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, and he named it motivation, and he put an empty glass in there, and he said they're going to be filling that glass with drops every day. Drop, drip, and fill that up. And they're going to fill that glass up. And
drip.
Yeah, Devin White has look, I'm all in on Devin White personality. This is a guy who has the he has the it factor. He's speaking my language.
All of a sudden, this man counts too much.
he's speaking my language. But yeah, that is I might send a picture of a glass if we are having bad shows.
Put some beer in that glass.
No. This is all about filling it up. If we have two shows that aren't going well, or our numbers aren't where I want them to be, you guys are going to wake up at 5:15 one morning with just a picture of a glass. And I'm going to say, we need to fill this glass up.
Yes. And what would you fill that glass up with, Zach?
Oh, terrific transition right there. I'll
tell you what I might fill it up with, Zach. I might fill it up with some ice cold Miller Lite, because when you are trying to be accountable, you still want to be sucking it back. A lot has changed over the years, but one thing that hasn't is the great taste of Miller Lite. Another thing that hasn't changed is that it remains less filling. So what is the best thing about the original light beer? Miller Lite sparked this debate all the way back in 1975, and we still haven't settled it. Miller Lite keeps it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. So if you're the kind of guy who's trying to, get on the field, make your team as good as it can be, but you still want to suck them back, well, how about 96 calories? That'll do it for you. Miller Lite is the beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters most. A light beer that tastes like beer, less filling, and only 96 calories. The original light beer since 1975. You don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLY birds, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Driving around the Philadelphia area often, and when I see a Trumark Financial Credit Union, I get excited, because it is a Philadelphia company. They're all over the place. And if you're driving around and you need a few bucks or a few extra bucks, what you can think about is your home equity line of credit, HELOC. Or am I pronouncing that correctly?
HELOC.
Home equity line of credit, HELOC is how I like to call it. It allows homeowners to borrow against home equity with a variable interest rate. Preserve your savings and get access to funds as needed for big renovations, education expenses, or emergencies. Saving up for if you use the TrueMark Financial's budgeting tools to save up for special purchases, you can get limited edition merchandise. Regular contributions accumulate over time to reach saving goals effectively. If you transfer as little as $5 a week, it could give you $260, more than enough to buy you, I don't know, a Zach Bond Kelly Green jersey. Maybe not the best long-term investment. Maybe a Jeremiah Trotter Jr. one would be a better investment. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA, and it's an equal opportunity lender. For more information, visit truemark.com/PHLY.
All right, Zach, let's mix it up with a miscellaneous predict.
Miscellaneous predict. Okay, so this one here is the season finale of Hard Knocks is coming up. I'm sorry, the season finale of Hard Knocks off season is coming up. I
think they're going to take Neighbors.
yeah. It's like watching Titanic, right? You kind of know what's happening at the end.
Yeah.
Or Oppenheimer, right? You know that too. So in that case, the Hard Knocks for the training camp, Chicago Bears, starts up soon. And then during the season, it'll be Hard Knocks in season, which they follow around a division. It's going to be the AFC North this year. So predict, because it certainly seems like NFL teams are not going to be able to avoid this. Predict, what do you think the Eagles would be chosen for, and which would you want to see them chosen for?
Well, I mean, I would put all my turkeys on want. I would want to watch the offseason one. That would be 100%. I mean, that would absolutely be the best one. No doubt about it. I don't think that will ever happen. I think the Eagles are absolutely an organization that does not want to be featured in Hard Knocks. And so if they agreed
to the Amazon All or Nothing a few years ago, but yeah.
Yeah, and so I would imagine that if they're going to be pushed into one, it's going to be just the NFC East is the in-season one,
Sure.
and I feel like the in-season one is one where there's less to hide, um,
Sure.
because it's all after the fact of like there's no game planning stuff, and I think that that's easily the most likely. Plus, we've they did the all or nothing, so we've seen them do that before.
Yeah. Uh, Look, I'm in favor of as much behind the scenes access as we can see. By the way, the Eagles website did a really good job. They have something up from the offseason on, Saquon Barkley, Cam Jurgens, kind of behind the scenes on both. They went to Beatrice, Nebraska for Cam Jurgens. You see Saquon Barkley arriving at the team facility for the first time. You see him assembling a bike actually for his daughter in their new home. Did a good job assembling a bike. I did not know Saquon was once a skater biker type back when he was
Mm,
like 9, 10, 11 years old. He was talking about that, but did a good job assembling the bike. And Saquon's daughter, great
steals the
appearance.
show.
Well, yeah, she loves Disney princesses. It was a Disney princess bike, and Saquon asked for her favorite Disney princess, and I give her credit. I mean, this is a decisive a decisive girl. Like she knew right away. She's a Rapunzel person.
Rapunzel,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, she likes the hair.
Mm.
Anyways, I bring that up because anytime they can get the cameras behind the scenes, I would love to see it. I did want to just add because obviously we don't need to keep talking about the Giants hard knocks, but
Yeah, did you have any
my
takeaways from the last episode?
yeah, I mean, I complimented Brandon Brown last week. The guy who stole the show from me this week was without a doubt Joe Shane's son. I mean, that's a guy right
Oh,
there who, Shane asks him what he should do.
go get
And
Jaden
the
Daniels.
answer is, you're only getting this job once. Go for it,
Yeah,
right? I mean, there's a guy who, go bold or go home, right?
it was a
So
good answer.
give credit to that. Our
I
old friend
find
Mike Rowe.
the Mara of it all like he guy just like sort of Mr. Magoo keeps wandering into the office and it's like telling Joe Shane that he doesn't really like what he's doing.
Uh, I mean, like I've defended John Mara before. John Mara, like and we've said this about Jeffrey Lurie, but John Mara lives this. Like this is his
Sure.
job. This is his life. Like there's no other like side gig or or this is not like just a passion project on the side. This is like the Mara family life is the New York Giants. He
Well,
is
Republican Party politics also, but
I don't know his political persuasions actually. But yeah, he is passionate about it. By the way, what did you think too of our old friend Mike Rowe?
I meant to bring him up last time. I have enjoyed Mike Rowe's cameos throughout the season. He brings a little bit of a different energy to what the Giants have going on. I like the Mike Rowe stuff.
I gotta say, and I'm a huge Marvin Harrison Jr. guy. Maybe it's the Philly part of it, maybe it's the Syracuse part of it. His dad went to Syracuse, right? But man, Mike Rowe had conviction about Malik Neighbors right
Neighbors
away.
over
Goes in
Harrison.
there and tells John Merritt that's the guy he wants.
Now this is a good one where like everything you see has been approved by the Giants,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
if he had said Marvin Harrison, they wouldn't have shown that. There's somebody else in the building who gave that answer. So it's nice that Groh said Neighbors. But I think the larger point on that is everything you see has been approved by the Giants, and so all the floundering of Joe Shane, like they're keeping that out there. That goes to my point of like if the Giants have a bad season and Saquon is really good, he gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard Mike, I heard our friend Mike Garafolo on Anthony's show this week. And Anthony brought up Hard Knocks and, Mike was kind of defending the way the Giants came across in it. But he said that, I don't know if he said this or if I heard this elsewhere. I might be conflating conversations, but that the Giants want to light a fire under Daniel Jones. Like that's kind of part of because they were very transparent about wanting to go up and get a quarterback in there.
Yeah.
Right. And then Brian
Yeah,
Dable,
like they very much wanted to replace him. Yeah.
exactly. So curious to see that. How
I wish
that
they would
plays
talk
out.
about why they don't like JJ McCarthy.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Something to think about.
Yeah. All right. How about offense? Would you rather?
Offense, would you rather? Okay. So this kind of ties into what I was saying when I did this after watching the Eagles video of Cam Jurgens or Saquon Barkley. Would you rather for the Eagles, Cam Jurgens being great at center this year or Saquon Barkley being great at running back this year? Which one is more important for the team?
I think Cam Jurgens being great at center is probably more important, although it's hard to imagine Saquon
From like the
Barkley.
long-term perspective?
No, it's hard to imagine Saquon Barkley being great at running back without the Eagles getting really good offensive line play.
Well, so like, what if like either, I don't want to say if Saquon shot, right? Like, or like if he's not the same player, but if Saquon looks like he's kind of on a downward trend, or if he's injury prone, right? Or if Cam Jurgens is inconsistent at center, which one would set them back more? And they have more depth at center in theory than they have at running back. There's more invested in Saquon financially, certainly, and like in terms of role, short term. Yeah. So I guess and this is also an entry point to saying like Cam Jurgens in practice yesterday. You can't really tell much from a blocking perspective when they don't have the pads on, but they were pulling. They were doing some plays where they're pulling, and he can run downfield. I'm not saying he's Jason Kelce, man, but like he's not a plotting center. I mean, he can move downfield. So you might want to buy Cam Jurgens stock right now if you're an Eagles fan.
Yeah, I think I would lean towards Jurgens in almost any way this question is framed, because even though Saquon's getting paid more, it's a shorter term investment. The position is generally less important. There are other ways to get replacement level play at running back, whereas if you have a really bad center, that's more likely to submarine you. In theory, Cam Jurgens, they would like him to be here for the next decade. Nothing in the NFL is decade is kind of a ridiculous thing to say, but they'd like him to be the center for the next 4-5 years, I imagine. Saquon is probably not going to be here beyond next season. So I think the Eagles would feel much better about having nailed the Cam Jurgens evaluation than they would having nailed the Saquon Barkley price point.
Let me ask this a better way. You never want to kind of talk about injuries, right? But if one of them were to go down with a major injury in training camp, which would hinder the team more?
The 2024 team?
Yeah, this year, like if someone goes down in practice this week, which one hinders them more?
Jurgens would be worse. This is closer because I think they could find another running back. Like, what's it going to cost? The 6th round pick to trade for a starting caliber running back for another team?
But they clearly had designs on Saquon being.
Sure, it would change their plan on offense.
Yeah.
And I think they could get by with Matt Hennessy at center, probably, right? Or my boy Dylan McMahon. I think they would be okay. I would be. I'm open to the argument that maybe in 2024 they would be better off having Saquon than Cam Jurgens, but I think big picture you would still say Cam.
All right, not a great one. Just want to kind of bring up that Cam Jurgens from practice yesterday.
It's an interesting framing,
and I thought the Eagles did a good job on that video.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go offense predict.
Offense predict. Who is wide receiver 3 this year? And kind of the peg here is that Paris Campbell was the wide receiver 3 on day 1. John Ross was the wide receiver 3 on day 2. I thought John Ross did not kind of have a great day, it was as the Wire would say, it was a 40-degree day. There's nothing that stood out about it. They didn't really. There wasn't much like downfield. Maybe it was just because they didn't throw to him. I didn't have John Ross in my notes other than depth chart. So
okay.
But Anaya Smith, again, inconsistent. Right, he had a drop at one point. Johnny Wilson hasn't really been a factor. It's 2 days. I get it. It's 2 days, but I was listening to Sheil Kapati and EJ Smith on a podcast last night, and they were, and Sheil brought up a great point. And I'm mentioning you by name, Sheil. Okay. He brought up a great point that it was like, I don't like these people who are like, it's only 2 days. Let's wait to talk about it in, after 10 practices. Like this is what we're doing. Everyone who listens to this understands we're not making wholesale sweeping evaluations, but this is
I mean, you
what we're doing here.
acknowledge that it's a small
Yes.
sample size, but yeah, you talk about what you've seen.
Yeah. So those rookies haven't done much through 2 days. Do you think wide receiver 3 is not on the roster? Who is it from elsewhere, or is the wide receiver 3 on the roster?
I think there's a good chance that it's someone who's not on the roster. Yeah.
Do you have a name for me?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Sorry. I mean,
trade or free agent?
We've talked about some of the trade. I think I think a trade is much more likely than
signing a Michael Thomas or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Noah Brown or somebody like that.
Sure.
But John Mechie. I don't. In the same way that I'm Zach Bond skeptical, I'm even more Paris Campbell skeptical. But I think that he's the most likely week 1 answer of anybody on the roster. He didn't look terrible on Wednesday, and Jalen Hurts was willing to throw him the ball, which honestly is probably the most important thing here. I think they are obviously underwhelmed by what they have. But I think if I was to guess, like, end of the season, if there's somebody who could actually be a difference maker, not a difference maker is even too strong, but somebody who could bring something to the table, I think I probably would still say Johnny Wilson. Even though, I haven't seen anything through 2 days. He looked okay in the summer. I haven't seen the juice that I've wanted to see from Aeneas Smith, just in the way that he moves. But again, just 2 days. And, John Ross is nice in theory. It would be a fun story if he could give you, honestly, 90% of Quez Watkins, what he gave you, that would be a win just as a speed threat. But I think it's more likely that it's somebody who's not here.
I would agree too, and I still think I think trade is the way to go. I also think it's something that you probably want to do the middle of the summer as opposed to a cut down thing. I don't think you want to be in a position where you're kind of introducing someone to an offense.
That's interesting.
In week 1, I think it's really important
of it.
Yeah. It's really important for this offense to have continuity and efficiency going into the season.
Okay, well said. If you wanted to drop in an ad at any point here, this might be a good time, just for anybody who's producing the show. And then, Zach, we can move on to. All right, why don't we do miscellaneous convince me?
Miscellaneous convince me. Okay, convince me. Is Inquirer reporter EJ Smith right or wrong? Bo, you have the floor.
All right, Julia, why don't you play the drop just so we can inform the listeners?
I've had a couple of times now where Bo has kind of swiped one of my takes.
Tell me more. Wow.
They might not have always been the best takes, but there have been a couple of times where I've been like, oh, that sounds familiar. Jeez. Okay, so
you just made my day.
Those guys, though. I need them to know that.
But you just made I would do another 30 minutes on that, quite honestly, if we didn't have a practice today. Yeah, watch it, Bo. He's calling you out. I love this. This is going to make him so angry. Knowing him as we do, it's going to make him so angry when he listens to this, and I think he will listen to it. And that'll just me picturing that brings joy. So there you go. All right, a couple other things here.
Okay, so a few things. Keeping in mind that this is still vacation, Bo. I'm feeling good. Got to meet a little baby yesterday. I'm feeling good. I'm glad we were able to give a little joy to Shield. That's nice. I know he could use that. What a tepid accusation from EJ Smith, who should be buttoned up reporter for the Philadelphia's paper of record, throws out an aspersion with absolutely no examples, no evidence. You might wonder why Shield didn't ask for examples. Obviously, he just wants to foment controversy. He's team content. No examples whatsoever. Absolutely outrageous. Where's the evidence? And how egocentric do you have to be to think that, oh, somebody thought of something, I thought of that first, he stole that from me? Give me a break. I mean, EJ, is the Bo Wulf in the room with you right now? Like this boogeyman that you've created Give me a break. Like, pathetic nonsense stuff.
Do you have more, or
no? Go ahead.
Chime in? I'm going to defend EJ here. Yeah, EJ's he's in year 6 in the beat. He's grinding here. He's working really hard. He's coming up. He's beyond the point.
Oh, Johnny Wilson made a good catch. I saw that first. That's my thing. What are you talking about? We're watching the same thing. We're allowed to see a similar thing.
He's beyond the point where it's just kind of surface level. Now he really kind of understands the team and the nuances of the team. And you come on and just kind of pilfer his opinion. Like, come on.
What? Give one example.
You see, what you should do is you should. I don't know if that's
as a journalist.
Yeah.
As someone who cares about the profession, who cares about ethics, character counts. Okay. All men count, but none too much. If you were to criticize somebody or make such an accusation, wouldn't you have evidence? Wouldn't you be buttoned up? You can't just throw something out there without any corroboration.
Also, for what the crossover listeners will appreciate this reference, what I would do in that situation is I would say, Bo, I was listening to a podcast the other day. I don't want to say who said this, okay? But this was the opinion. That's if you listen to the show, Sheil said that I sometimes bring it up, but I don't want to mention it by name as because I don't know if it's like whether it's a text, if it's on the record, if it's another show, if what the rules of engagement are there. But yeah, I don't know which specific opinions EJ is talking about.
A lion should not concern himself with the opinion of the sheep.
Oh,
right?
come on. EJ's a lion.
I don't necessarily feel like I should continue to go into this. I shouldn't have in the first place. But, I mean, show some evidence. It's ridiculous. I'm allowed to think of things myself.
I can say, EJ, having worked with Bo for 4 or 5 years, Bo is an astute observer of practice, a great thinker of football. Bo has opinions that some of them are really good. Some of them he needs to be convinced more on. Like Bo once was very critical of me thinking what I did about Jabril Peppers, who, by the way, signed a
what an odd victory lap for you to take.
He who laughs last laughs loudest.
I don't remember Sheila and I ever saying Jabril Peppers sucks.
Oh, you guys were killing me about. I mean, Conan Corliss remembers this well. Yeah, and I do have some receipts on this. We don't need to.
Okay,
we don't need to get into this. But
his career going.
Give it time. You saw the Giants free agency meetings or their defensive coordinator meetings. They're like, how are we going to use Isaiah Simmons? This is something they were talking about. This was a big deal.
We got an open spot on the bench.
Yeah. But in all, EJ, you're the man. Bo is. I can say Bo doesn't parrot anyone's opinions. I can promise you that. Maybe EJ, you're getting to be a really smart observer of football. That you and Bo.
I don't remember that many sideline conversations with EJ. The only one I can think of is during training camp last year when he was trying to talk about how Nolan Smith was the best player on the team and better than Jalen Carter.
But typically, what occurs is that I will bring something up to Bo, and Bo will say, or to Sheil, and they'll say, "How did you have time to hear that? Or how did you have time to read that?" So I don't know how many opinions Bo is parroting, but I love both you guys. I'm not gonna pick sides in this one.
I mean, I think EJ needs I know he went on a nice vacation. I think he needs another one. The guy's imagining things. He's losing it.
No, EJ, you have an open invitation to come on the show whenever you want to defend your honor.
Just an example. I mean, then I could at least address it. Ridiculous. All right, let's do miscellaneous would you rather. That way we can close with an actual football one on offense.
Yeah, miscellaneous would you rather. So I believe as we are speaking here, the Olympic opening ceremonies are going on. Shout out to our colleague Rich Hoffman. He is over there. Shout out to our friend Alex Coffey, Alex Coffey's sister Sam Coffey on the U.S. soccer team.
Got the start yesterday.
So but you are a worldly sportsman. I would
Ooh,
say
no doubt.
you like
I was talking about this with my brother yesterday. How
okay.
what great timing it is for
Mm,
the newborn time to have like Olympic sports on at like 4
mm.
in the morning. It's gonna be great for him.
So I was on my YouTube TV last night, and they have the screen that comes up, and they say pick your pick the sports you want to be alerted to in the Olympics. And I got to say, I'm not particularly worldly sports person. I mean, give me the basketball, right? I'm gonna watch those basketball games, but
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not big on Olympic sports. So the would you rather? I'm kind of taking liberties with this. What sports? What sports do I and the audience need
Mm,
to follow in the Olympics this year?
great question. I find the basketball, soccer, the sports that have their own big things, don't care. Don't
Oh,
care about the Olympic.
I
Like,
will. We'll save that for another show.
yeah,
I
I
love
don't
Olympic
care. I can
basketball.
watch
Okay.
the best basketball players in the world anytime I want. That is not what is interesting about the Olympics to me. I think I think that my favorite stuff of the Summer Olympics is probably the track. That stuff is awesome, and it's the whole allure of the Olympics is like the romanticism of these whether it's niche sports or not, but like you spend 4 years trying to crest at exactly the right moment. That payoff is awesome. Swimming is great too.
Real
Uh,
quick, if I can interject, you're like skeptical of every institution, but here you have like one of the most corrupt institutions in the world, and you're
well, I'm
romantic.
not defending the IOC.
You're like romantic about the Olympics. This is
Yeah, I
it's
think
like it's the most corrupt institution in sports. It seems like, but
well, I'm not
proceed.
defending the executive, Zach. That's the difference between you and me. I don't view things through the prism of who's the CEO.
All right, proceed. I'm not getting into that.
Um, I mean, this is that aspersion is asinine. Yeah, in terms of like niche stuff, I love a team handball. Fantastic sport.
Interesting.
I think
Okay.
I've said on the show before. I'd like in my next job, I'd like to be the general manager of USA Olympic team handball, and I can just take off the like 4A college football, college basketball players, really put together a nice roster. Badminton is now. I'm one of the great ping pong players in the world, but the viewing experience of ping pong is not as good. Badminton, much better. Beach volleyball, fantastic. That's a really good one. I'm sure you're all in on the Chase Budinger and the team volleyball storyline that's going on.
Is he in it? I know he was a
He's
volleyball
on
player.
USA men's
Oh, that's great. Okay.
the indoor volleyball.
Yeah, I always enjoyed watching Chase Budinger play basketball.
Um, what am I forgetting?
Swimming? You a
I like
swimming
swimming.
person?
Swimming's good. Yeah,
Okay.
swimming's good. I think track I like a little bit more. Gymnastics I don't get into quite as much as I would like to, um, but I appreciate the pomp of it. But I think track is probably would be my number one,
Okay.
and then give me like beach volleyball, handball. Those are that maybe rounds out my top three.
Okay. And is Paris a good host city? Is this going to
Let's
be
find out.
like the opening ceremonies? I know they're going on now, but they're on television tonight. I believe. I think I would imagine visually this is a really good thing. The ceremonies are along the river. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, I
Okay.
know they've
Yeah.
been worried about the rain, and they
Okay.
have like a huge number of policemen. Those are the things that I know about it. But yes, I haven't watched yet.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I like reading
But
about
yeah,
the
like
Olympics.
these
It's
like
great human
golf.
nature.
Like I like watching golf. I don't really necessarily care too much about Olympic golf. Give me the sports that I don't otherwise watch. That's the appeal of the Olympics to me.
And if I can ask you earnestly, because I know you've been to the Olympics, is it one of those bucket list sporting things you have to go to, or is it something you can not necessarily need to experience in person?
I mean, I had a fantastic time.
Okay.
I would hope that I will remember it for the rest of my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
When I went in Beijing.
No, but I hear, for
But
instance, sometimes in like these big events, the city gets overtaken. You don't really get a chance to kind of like see the city.
it depends how
That.
you experience it. Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be that way. But yeah,
Okay.
it is a very much a wild takeover just infrastructure wise,
Sure.
how much it happens, no doubt.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if you have the means, you can make it happen. I would definitely recommend it.
I'm gonna cover one. I mean, but we'll see. Well, I don't know if all cities has a robust Olympic coverage, but look, if there's flag football in
There you go.
2028, maybe I'll be out there, and it's LA. I can go to
Oh,
LA.
that's
I
great.
can
You
say
could breathe in the SoFi Stadium air.
Well, SoFi Stadium is a part of it actually, and I believe the basketball games will be played at the Intuit Dome, which I can't wait. When the Eagles play in LA, I want to go to the Intuit Dome. I've been reading amazing stuff about that arena.
You're into it.
I see what you said there. Zach probably knows Simone Biles' husband's name, but may not know Simone Biles. I know Simone Biles' husband's name is Jonathan Owens. I saw a good piece recently on him. I do know Simone Biles. There's a documentary on her on Netflix. I have not watched it, but I don't watch gymnastics. That's not like a toxic masculinity thing. It's just I'm not into gymnastics.
Okay.
When we were younger, right? I know we're tight on time. When we were younger, I recall figure skating being a big. Well, no, I'm sorry. That's the Winter Olympics, right? Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Ice.
All right.
Usually the telltale sign is ice or
Yes.
snow.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Sorry, I was trying to be conversational on the Olympics.
That's okay.
I can tell you what the 3 baseball trades that happened in the last 12 hours. Okay, so I'm well versed on that.
Yeah.
Good move by the Phillies today, getting Austin Hayes.
Yeah. All right, let's talk offense. Offense convinced me. Let's close with some real football talk.
Offense convinced me. Okay, so this is a big picture one. I was on Fox 29 last night.
Flex.
And you get the general question like, what stood out to you at training camp, and my answer was how impressive Jalen Hurts, or how well Jalen Hurts has played through 2 days. So Mike convinced me on this. What's the most important part about Jalen Hurts is training camp, like, and not what happened these 2 days this summer? Like, is it the efficiency? Is it the running ability that you want to see? Is it who he's involving in the offense? Like what is, if you're doing an evaluation of Jalen Hurts, what's at the top of the list for you?
Aside from stays healthy?
Yes.
That's the number one most important thing.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't imagine he'll play in games. So
I think if you're talking about like just evaluating his performance every day, I think the most important thing is the ball coming out on time.
Okay.
Because I think if that is happening, it means that he's seeing the full picture. He's comfortable in the offense. And he's like the running stuff is great, but it's practice, right? Like I want to see that be a part of the offense. I was talking about this on Anthony's show this morning about how like it changes the ceiling of the offense so much if the Eagles are embracing that and Jalen is doing that, because not only does his running ability make just the math of the passing game easier, it's also opening things up for Saquon Barkley. And if the defense is scared of Saquon Barkley, then all of a sudden the play action is open. Like that cascading effect of what his legs can do is so significant. But from just evaluating him as a thrower this summer, I think the most important thing is the ball coming out on time, and like with that a baseline level of completions, right? Not just the ball's coming out and he's throwing it all over the place. But I don't think we have an expectation that he's going to be accurate and he's going to throw like a good ball, right? So as long as the ball is coming out on time and it's not A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith only, and he's spreading it around a little bit, I think that's probably the most important indication that he is comfortable in the offense.
I see threat level midnight here says turnovers. I mean, do you kind of throw that in there as well? Is that something that can be overstated in training camp? Is it an indicator of anything in training camp?
I mean, it would not be great if he threw like 10 interceptions over the course of camp, but that would be such an outlier. That's not usually the case, right? And so this guy is already at a 300 level, and you want to get him to 400, 500 level. I think the timing is the stuff that matters, because a lot last season the ball was not coming out on time, and then you would see the run around, throw it away. Like that's That's not what you want to be seeing.
Yeah, it's all a good point. And
by the way, make sure that you are becoming a diehard. You can read Zach's review of practice tomorrow, all that good stuff. Les Bowen, all that good stuff. So, before you leave today, make sure you do that. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, and then just the other thing that I would throw in there is, I thought a big issue with Jalen last year was I thought the unscouted looks in the early games really kind of threw him off. And the Patriots game, the Vikings game, you saw him say that. And the way I don't want to frame it as reading defenses, because I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but the counterpunch. And maybe that's more of an offense thing than a Jalen Hurts thing. So seeing the timing and the efficiency is important here in training camp. What I'm fascinated to see come the season is how is he reacting to the different defensive looks, right? But I do think that the Eagles are going to, Nick Sirianni likes to talk about the competitive advantage. The Eagles were fairly predictable last year, and I think they are going to be less predictable this year. And I think that's going to be advantageous for Jalen Hurts, particularly early in the season.
I think you said it. If like Eagles fans could hope for one thing for the offense this year, I think being a little bit less predictable might be one of those things. I think that would go a long way.
All set.
All right. Good stuff, Zach. Good first week of camp. Look forward to finding out what happens tomorrow as the Eagles get back on the practice field, get a little more clickety-clack, and then we're back all next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 2 p.m. all week long. Interesting sort of schedule practice-wise next week. You've got a Monday and a Tuesday, and then they're off Wednesday and Friday with the night practice on Thursday night. So we will take you through all of that. But until then, stay tuned. Zach's Twitter feed is going to have you covered as well. And we'll
have a video as well as we do each day, Camp in 60 Seconds, which I know people enjoyed seeing. So we will get that up as well.
Yes, and if you want to know my thoughts on it, I guess just read the Inquirer, because that's the only place that I read my information. I don't have eyes of my own or a brain of my own to decipher what I see in front of me.
How about that parting shot?
I'm just saying, I was excited when I heard that EJ took a shot, because I was like, yeah, let's hear it. I want to get, but it's so, he dipped his toe in the water, so tepid. Let's go. If you're going to hit me in the chin, hit me in the chin.
But when all men count with you, but none too much, right?
Well, on that note, that'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Back with you on Monday. And for all of us here, as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.